Food
like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp,
tofu, and rasta pasta?
Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock
in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m.
Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
Oh, we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock
in downtown Atlanta.
For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992
or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com.
For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant.
Authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door. Tell your mama hungry.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and parenting education coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentjax.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
Are you ready? It's time. The inaugural Urban NerdCon is coming to Montgomery, Alabama, July 29th through the 31st.
World, what's happening? Rob Morgan here. Just letting you know, July 29th through 31st, I'll be at Montgomery, Alabama, Urban NerdCon. Come on out, get something signed, take a photo, say hello, let's share some stories and create some memories, you know? Peace.
So join us by visiting theUrbanNerdCon.net for ticket and vendor information. This will be the premier blurred event in the universe. TheUrbanNerdCon.net. Our heroes, our villains, our stories, everyone's con. See you there.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service with Slow Burn. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. It's more than a mobile lounge. It's an environment and an experience rich in history, luxury, and personality. An elegant extension of any celebration occasion. It's the perfect escape and meeting place, a space where you can relax or enjoy a shared passion. Have Slow Burn plan your next big event, or before you are planning to celebrate your win over your athletic rival, you can shop our collections at www.slowburnwaco.com.
But if they want to tab, I'ma do the dab, yeah.
One bite of 100% Angus beef ballpark frank, and you'll say, hello, summer. Oh yeah, it's ballpark season.
Q Time is a classic Atlanta soul food restaurant located in the historic West End. Q Time Soul Food is a family business started by Fred and Christine Crenshaw. Come on in, relax, and sink your chops into our tantalizing, mouth-watering, distinctive soul food with a twist, the Q Time way. 1120 Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard, or call your order in at 404-758-2881. Do you miss your mama's cooking? Then come on down to Q Time, an Urban Passport member.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, I love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavill, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention.
This is Dr. Cavill with Inside HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Team is back together again as we prepare for our last show before we get to Birmingham, Alabama. There's some business to go out there. We do have the CIAA that is going to kick off their football media day before the SWAC, but a lot of eyes and interests are interested in what's going to go down in Birmingham in terms of what players have to say, what coaches have to say, even what some administrators such as athletic directors, what is on their mind? What does the commissioner have to say? Jay, Tiffany, in terms of coming from ESPN, what is their viewpoint of all things? So a lot going on today. So welcome to episode 282 of Inside HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU diaspora, all things HBCU sports from institutions large and small, from the NAIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavill, along with my co-host Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to Caseway 1230 AM skills with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, multi-Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper, in a beautiful home at Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. Today's episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THG Agency, LLC. THG Agency is a company that provides sporting and educational consulting and data analytics. Have an interesting one today, but I don't know what's going on, but I guess it is, as Carlos Brown said, is the circle of life. We have another announcement of Grambling State mourns the loss of Cedric Skinner from the GSUtigers.com. The death of the 30-year-old was confirmed by the coroner's office, although no cause of death has been given yet. He was a football player from Oberlin, Louisiana. Oberlin to the semifinals as he led them. The state playoffs back in 2010 before he played 3 seasons at Grambling. He played under Doug Williams. Doug Williams was quoted as saying he was a running back that ran hard and made you remember him, Williams said, end quote. He also quoted as saying, "We are praying for his family during this difficult time, as well as us." In 26 games, he amassed 809 rushing yards and 56 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns from 2012 to 2014. He actually finished off his football collegiate career at the University of Arkansas Monticello, UAM, in 2015. I'd like for us to pause for a moment of silence in honor of Mr. Cedric Skinner, the Grambling State family, his family, as well as HBCU families as well. Back on the lighter side of things, we get back into it. Before we get into the SWAC, we'll save a lot of that for the second half of the show. We have some other news covering many things across the landscape. I'm gonna start it off. SIAC announces, as they had their media day last week, they also have announced now the network schedule 2022 on ESPN. The games will be covered ESPN platforms such as ESPNU, ESPN3, and ESPN Plus. Lineup features at least one home game for each football member. I thought that was pretty big. Conference's most electric rivalry matchup, the second annual Boeing Red Tail Classic, Fountain City Classic, Morehouse Tuskegee Classic, Legacy Classic there, and the SIAC Football Championship presented by Cricket. Every week from September 4th to November 12th will feature SIAC matchups. 2 SIAC games will air live on ESPNU this season. One of those games will be Boeing Red Tail Classic, which will take place on September 4th at the Crampton Bowl in Montgomery, Alabama, between Tuskegee University and the Fort Valley State University. That's the Golden Tigers against the Wildcats. Last year, you may remember Fort Valley State Wildcats won their inaugural matchup. So it's going to be fascinating. You have some new members, as we talked about transitioning and have been approved to continue their move to successfully get in the NCAA Division II, which means they now are members of the SIAC and compete for the championship, although they will not be eligible for the playoffs at the Division II level regarding the NCAA. But Allen University and Edward Waters will get a television time as they show the AME Classic on November 12th in terms of what that matchup is, which is the same time as the championship game. So it'll be interesting to see, since those teams are eligible to play in the championship game, how that may affect that matchup. Got a little homework to do on that. But several matchups are going out there. Big deal in terms of what this looks like. So wanted to give some thought process on what that looked like in terms of the SIAC. Kudos to Commissioner Moore. I know he's announced his retirement as he leaves the SIAC, but one of his legacies in terms of expansion of the SIAC, obviously in terms of television exposure, in this case with ESPN. So it'll be fascinating to see how that continues to move forward. Shout out to the SIAC. Let me go to you, Charles, in terms of what's on your mind with some of the news of the day.
Yeah, let's shift and talk a little bit about Tennessee State, as they were well represented on an all OVC preseason team with 8 players named to the offensive and defensive squads. And Tennessee State was selected to finish 4th in the preseason poll in the Ohio Valley Conference. But Tennessee State, they have quite a bit of talent on both sides of the ball, especially a quarterback who's transferring in, who's all freshman quarterback, a young man by the name of Draylon Ellis. And then you also have that running back, Devon Starling, that's there at Tennessee State as well. They also nabbed a couple of defensive tackle spots as well. So looking to see what Tennessee State does this upcoming season in the OVC.
That's 4th in a OVC that consists of 7 members, including the Lindenwood that is moving up, obviously, from their previous status in the NIA in NCAA Division II, now up to Division I FCS. I know it should be some bulletin board material for Tennessee State, the football team, as well as the fans. Many of them thought they should have been higher than 4th. It's fascinating to see what other coaches and information directors think of Tennessee State Tigers, not very highly. So the intrigued to see how it goes the rest of the season. Let me go to you, Mike, in terms of your thoughts. What's hot on your mind in terms of what's going on there? You're on mute.
First of all, glad to be back on the show, Doc. I'm traveling on the road. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I'm in the lobby. And
yeah, you're good.
It's quite a few corporate parties going on. So I know it's not football related, but Prairie View has a new golf coach after many months of searching. So
you gonna let it out the bag that early? I guess it's approved now. Okay, I see where you go. Charles, you know, you get excited about the GAF golf. Go ahead, Mike.
Always.
Yeah. So evidently, they, according to Dr. Reed, they announced Tuesday that Mike Rice, formerly of the FAMU Rattlers organization, which they announced yesterday was leaving, or the 2 days before, will serve as the new head men's and women's golf coach. Rice will be a great addition to our golf program. According to Dr. Reed, I'm confident he will do a tremendous job. He brings a pretty good resume golf-wise. So after becoming assistant in 2013 at FAMU, he was given the reins as a former FAMU golf coach in 2018 after Marvin Green stepped away from the university to take a position with the Florida Sports Foundation. He led the Rattlers to a MEAC title and a berth in the 2021 NCAA tournament, a first for both feats. But the question I have to ask is, who is he replacing? Mr. Kevin Jennings, Sr. It's been 9-10 months since Prairie View has replaced him. So he has multiple championships, men's and women's, with the golf program at Prairie View. So it took a long time to replace him, but congratulations to Mr. Rice on his installment as the new Prairie View men's and women's golf head coach.
Yeah, big addition, it seems, to Prairie View, taken away from FAMU. I know he's beloved by a lot of Rattlers. Really was strong as he closed out on the MEAC. I know when they first talked about expansion of the SWAC, one of the sports that I looked at off the radar that Charles likes is golf. And I thought it would have been a fascinating matchup between FAMU and Prairie View under these two coaches. It was not the as Jennings left. And FAMU was actually rebuilding in a lot of ways as they had a younger team. They still finished third in terms of regular season. He happens to be an alumni of FAMU. So fascinating to see what he can build over there in Prairie View. Obviously, there are a lot of golf talent in this greater Texas area. He gets to do it for both men's and women's programs. So it'll be fascinating to see how he's able to get it done. It's my understanding he's going to get an assistant, which I always should be strong.
That's huge. Yeah.
Not a lot of programs in general get an assistant, but it's particularly with HBCUs in the SWAC. So it'll be fascinating to see. There's a lot of pride in Prairie View, the golf program, historically what it's been able to do. So a lot of people quietly excited about finally announcement of the higher golf program because they have a lot of support of it. And then I guess you got those general folks that have picked up golf over the years that think they're golfing. I'm not talking about Charles because he's pretty good at it, but other folks. So just wanted to put that 2 cents in there. So good point in terms of going off the radar a little bit. Let me do this before I head back to Charles. Let me give some love for the folks out there. George Suggs, Carl Edmond, Karen Griffin out of Southern California. You know how she gets it done. Chuck Hunt is in here, says he's doing phenomenal. Willie Alex Hines in here. Lonnie Shaw, hot. Too hot for golf, but cool in the lab. That's right, it's cool in the lab. Air conditioning is blowing. AD
never too hot.
Never too hot. Never too hot.
Never too hot. Never too hot.
You just get up early, huh? Chad Cooper
there you
in
go.
the building. So just a shout out for some of those that are taking it. Let me go right back to you, Charles. Since it's not too hot, what else you got going on?
Yeah, let's take a look at HBCU baseball. Texas Southern outfielder Jonathan Thomas. He was drafted by the Washington Nationals. He went. He was a 56th overall pick in the 2022 Major League Baseball draft. He went in the 19th round, 561st pick, I should say. But Jonathan Thomas, a huge season this past season with Texas Southern, tallied 68 runs, 62 stolen bases, 42 RBIs, 9 home runs while maintaining a 345 batting average in 2022. He spent his first 3 seasons at the University of Houston before transferring to Texas Southern. Had a huge season this past season for the Texas Southern Tigers, and he now goes to the Washington Nationals. And then you also had a Grambling University player who was drafted in the MLB draft. Grambling State catcher John Garcia was drafted right here by the Houston Astros. So they're getting a big time hitter with Mr. Garcia, nice catcher, did yeoman work behind the plate for the Grambling Tigers. But those 2 players went in the MLB draft thus far.
Yeah, I know Black College Nines is excited to be able to put this update. Obviously, for those that are in the Major League Baseball or follow baseball in general, may have heard that 4 of the top 5 players drafted this year were African Americans, or blacks, whichever term you prefer to use. Which many people believe is the first time in the history of Major League Baseball. Obviously, the history goes back, so people are not too sure about the records, but pretty obvious in terms of modern time. So it's big in terms of Michael Coker. He was talking about the fact, all the work that he's put in with Black College Nine and the others that are supported, obviously with the HBC World Series that kicked off between the NAIA, NCAA Division II. He was looking anxiously to see about HBCUs get drafted. It happens in the 19th round. So kudos for the work that he's continued to do in terms of pushing his advocacy for HBCU baseball players, certainly for those getting drafted. So it's going to be fascinating to see what that looks like. Kudos to individuals that we've seen doing the Major League Baseball in regards to All-Star game. A lot of the fruits of their labor is coming together, and we see it paying off. And at least some draftees of Major League Baseball much as you've seen on the football side. So wanted to make sure I tied that in. Great report you put out there. Great point in terms of recognizing what's taking place in baseball. It seems like a resurgence. We'll keep our eyes on it.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, what else you got for me?
Oh, you want to know? You really want to know?
I want to know.
All right. So it looks like Dillard is in the baseball business again. So congratulations. This comes by way of HBCUsports.com, of course, Twitter. In a period, it seems, where HBCU investment is collectively regressing, one program is gaining full steam. In 2023, there will be a baseball team at, yes, Dillard University for the first time in school history. The Blue Devils will be housed in the new look Gulf Coast Athletic Conference setup along with Oakwood University, Wiley College, and Philander Smith. So congratulations to them. The program, which was, pretty much entrenched in, or pretty much caught up in the developmental stage, will be led by former Southern assistant coach Trennis Grant, who is attempting to execute the dual role of selling himself and the program. This, according to HBCU Sports. It's a great opportunity for Dillard. Dillard is now in the baseball business. They will have the full allotment of recruits. Let me say that again, just in case you didn't hear it. They will now have the full allotment of recruits, equipment, and that's essential to a good baseball program. So congratulations to the folks at Dillard.
Yeah, you talking about New Orleans with Xavier Dillard having baseball programs. It's going to be hot and heavy around those parts of New Orleans to see some good competition, rivalry between those two programs. If they can kick it off and get some games played, it'll be fascinating to see what that looks like. Obviously, in two different conferences, Red River Athletic Conference for Xavier and Gulf Coast Athletic Conference for Dillard. Fascinating to see how that goes. Let's take our first break. We'll be right back after this first break and give you some more updates of what's going on about the HBC sports landscape before we get into some updates of what our thoughts and what's going to take place in the SWAC Football Media Day.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Are you ready? It's time. The inaugural Urban NerdCon is coming to Montgomery, Alabama, July 29th through the 31st. Blurs, nerds, and geeks from across the universe will converge on the capital city to see celebrity guests such as The Last Dragon, Timok, Megan Tandy, and voice actor Dave Fennoy.
Hey, how you doing? I'm voice actor Dave Fennoy with a shout out to all my geeks, freaks, and urban nerds. Just want to let you know I'm going to be there and I want to meet you at the Urban NerdCon Gaming and Cosplay event. It's happening July 29th through the 31st in Montgomery, Alabama. Hope you want to meet me as much as I want to meet you.
So join us by visiting theurbannerdcon.net for ticket and vendor information. This will be the premier blurred event in the universe. Theurbannerdcon.net. Our heroes, our villains, our stories, everyone's con. See you there.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want to loud, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Gaville's inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Mike is talking about Marlon around here. I don't know if he's that on air. He told everybody secrets. That's all right. We're going to let it know about that. Let me go back to you, Charles, as we talk a little bit about some more HBCU sports, tying the CIAA Media Day. And like I said, the second half, we'll get into some hot and tough news about the SWAC Media Day in regards to what's going on out there. I really want to talk about some schedules that y'all have some thoughts on, your thoughts in terms of who's coming to the, who you are most interested in talking to outside of the work that you have to do, obviously, for yourself. Charles Bishop, you got to make sure that you bring some great content back for Jackson State fans. Mike Washington, your Prairie View fans are going to make sure that you bring that information back. But outside of that, I want to know your thoughts on that. But we're going to say that as a tease to the next half of the hour. We got plenty of time to get all into it. Right now, there's still some other hot news out there. You got some players of the year, men and women for MEAC SWAC. Kind of want to get your thoughts on that. I'll save that for you, Mike. But before we do that, Charles, I think you have some news out there that talks about the only HBCU that has done this thus far. What do you have for us?
Yeah, and this is big news, and this comes via HBCU Game Day. Great report by Vaughn Wilson. But FAMU, they're the first HBCU to get this Power 5 level climate control system. It's known as the Boudreaux Box. And of course, you know that it is a cooler system for players, especially we've had players over the past going on 20, 25 years now that have passed away from heat stroke. So this article was of great importance to me. But this is an interesting invention called the Boudreaux Box, named after a gentleman who developed it, Paul Boudreaux. But it's a cooler system that combats heat exhaustion, dehydration, and other heat-related illnesses. And you're starting to see it proliferate through various training camps on the NFL and on the Power 5 level. FAMU first to get it on the HBCU level. And kudos to their football foundation, 220 quarterback club, in terms of raising the funds to get this Boudreaux Box for this FAMU football team. So that's huge news.
Yeah, that's big. That's significant when you talk about the heat in the South, particularly in Florida in that Panhandle area, folks from there. And as we talk about now, I mean, this heat is oppressive and more than normal. It's already hot, but more than normal. So the timing for this seems very appropriate. So great kudos for FAMU and those involved to get that done, as you said. Let me go to you, Mike. I want to get some more news of, as I teased out a little bit, some players of the year. You had that information?
Yeah, I have that information. So I know my boy CB over there is chomping at the bits because Jackson State's holiday. Okay, so
Misha.
Yeah, Misha Holiday. Well, Williams Holiday. We want to make sure we do it correctly. Is named basically women's basketball standout. Of course, we all know that. She's been named the 2021-2022 SWAC Athlete Conference Woman of the Year. So this past season, she earned a 3.5 GPA in the classroom while leading Jackson State to its third straight, not first, not second, but third straight regular season championship and second straight SWAC tournament. So she's a three-time first team all SWAC selection. All of that, ... She is just all thing. I know Charles can probably recite this by heart, but she led the conference in scoring. I think she was like over 19 points per game, 11 and a half boyfriend breakups, rebounds, y'all. And she had a field goal percentage. Get this, no other female player had a field goal percentage as high as her, 57, I think, and some change %. So she became the first HBCU player drafted since 2002 and only the sixth all-time to be selected in the WNBA. So congratulations to Miss Amisha Williams Holiday. So, and on the light side, I do have some news on the MEAC, that MEAC athlete Kobe Jordan Rooms from Morgan State University was selected as the male athlete of the year. this just announced yesterday. Congratulations to him. So he's a captain of the Bears track and field squad, outstanding field performer in the MEAC indoor track and field championships, all around great GPA. So in this past outdoor season, he won the MEAC title in the triple jump, finishing second in the high jump. So he's from Montego Bay, Jamaica. Native, also competed in the triple jump, the NCAA East preliminaries. So congratulations to him as well on being selected as the male athlete of the year for the MEAC conference. So I'll stop there, let it marinate. Then we'll come back with some more awards later.
Good deal. That's a big deal. Charles, what else you got out there that's hot and heavy in the HBCU news? We got some updates in terms of employment. Notified Elizabeth City State appoints James M. DeBose, athletic director, in terms of Elizabeth City State, permanently appointed him. So he was serving in that role as interim acting, if you would. So it'll be interesting to see what he can get done for the CIAA Elizabeth City State in terms of that program, he will have oversight over 11 universities, women's and men's teams, as they continue to build and get it done. He came to Elizabeth City State from Winston-Salem State University, previously served in a variety of roles over there, including Senior Associate Athletic Director for Development Administration. So it'll be fascinating as he continues to put in the work for the CIAA. Let me go back to you, Charles. What other news that you have hot and heavy out there that you want to put on the table before we go back to Mike to let him get Year of the War award given?
Yeah, well, I'm sure a lot of people saw it the other day via the pregame show, but Coach Prime, he has offered to donate half of his salary going towards finishing some projects that are going on at Jackson State right now with regards to the facilities. But as he does in Coach Prime fashion, let it build up a little bit, then turn to the camera and said, I'm donating half my salary. So kudos, Coach Prime, in terms of recognizing a need and stepping in, filling in a gap there with regards to Jackson State athletics. But you talk about putting your money where your mouth is. You talk about not just that, but your skin in the game. All of his kids are enrolled at Jackson State, football, women's basketball. So, it is what it is. He has definitely put his foot on the pedal in terms of what he's doing and leaving his mark there, not just at Jackson State, but with regards to HBCU athletics.
You're talking about all in. He is all in, financially all in. I like that.
Financially all in, no doubt.
Your mouth is, that's a big deal when you write checks out of your own pocket in terms of the place that you are working. And we have a lot of folks that claim to love their institution that don't always write checks. And in this point, he's doing half his salary. Not saying it's necessarily amount, but the fact that he decides to put something in terms of skin in the game. Great point that you bring that to the table of what that looks like in terms of moving Jackson State forward. Fascinating. Mike, what else? You had another honor that you want to give out in terms of your award there. As you're looking at that, I did want to give a shout out to Gold Coast Athletic Conference, seeking interns for those that want to do some internship for the 2022-23 athletic season, fall or spring, or full-time. Contact the Gold Coast Athletic Conference. You can go to the website. What's nice about this, the rate for both positions is $6,000 for a year. So internships, that's significant when you talk about that. You can send your resumes to commissioner@gcaconf.com. That's commissioner@gcaconf.com, I should say. Deadline to submit resumes is July 31st, 2022. I did want to get at this before we get to the break. I know you wanted to get in the conference male of the year for the MEAC. That's Kobe Jordan Romes, selected for Morgan State. You put that in there, but the woman of the year comes out of Catherine Lane out of MEAC, representing Coppin State University in terms of what she was able to get done in the NCAA East preliminaries, as she was all region 4x4 100 meter relay team, 4x100 also in so many different ways. So she's representing for the MEAC. Last thing I wanted to say here a little bit about CIAA before we get into this last break. They represented NCAA Women of the Year nominees, so they had a host of women nominees for the CIAA. Brianna Brown out of Lincoln University for basketball. Haley Gibson, Winston-Salem State basketball as well. Bethany Henry, Virginia State University of volleyball. Denisha Miller, Fayetteville State, multi-sport, indoor track and field as well as volleyball. Andrea Novella, Colorado, Elizabeth City State for tennis. Azante Rogers, Elizabeth City State for basketball. And Jalen Spalding, Virginia State University of basketball. Chivalry's Not Dead. Want to show them some love. The media day is tomorrow, Wednesday. That's Tuesday, July the 19th through Wednesday, July 20th at the Holiday Inn, Valley View in Roanoke, Virginia, as all the coaches and some players collide in Roanoke to talk about the CIAA, as the 12 head coaches and returning players from each school will discuss the outlook of their respective programs and expectation. I'm really interested in, Bowie State. What will people think about that program in terms of moving forward? What's going to happen in the Southern Division in terms of some teams? Are they going to be able to get over the hump in terms, because the big bad Bears there? You got Dr. Henry Frazier III returns back into the coaching, leading Virginia State University. Does he still have magic in terms of what he gets done, and how quick, if he does, can he get that? Virginia Union, after a lot of people thought they were peaking and ready to take the curve. So it'll be fascinating. I did want to say this before we get into this break. Is A.D. Drew, our very own BCSN, as well as Faith Daniels, will be in Roanoke covering the CIAA to make sure that you get your insights and news. So tune in tomorrow, BCSN, to make sure you get your latest updates on the CIAA Media Day, as then we turn the page and we'll come into the SWAC. We'll get a little bit of the updates of SWAC and get your thoughts on that right after this break. We'll spend the rest of the show on the SWAC Football Media Day and get your thoughts in terms of what's going on there. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this break.
Oh, that spin class was brutal. Well, you can try using the Buick's massaging seat. Oh, yeah, that's nice. Can I use Apple CarPlay to put some music on? Sure, it's wireless. Pick something we all like. Okay, hold on. What's your Buick's Wi-Fi password? Buick Envision 2021. Oh, you should pick something stronger. That's really predictable. That's a really tight spot. Don't worry, I used to hate parallel parking. Me too. Hey.
Really outdid yourself.
Yes, we did.
The all-new Buick Envision, an SUV built around you. All of you.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food? Like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp,
tofu, and rasta pasta?
Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m.
Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
Oh, we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock
in downtown Atlanta.
For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992
or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com.
For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant.
Authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door, tell your mama hungry.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watson and Charles Bishop. The team is in the building as we prepare to pack our bags so we can get up and get into Birmingham, Alabama for the SWAC Media Day. All eyes will be on the SWAC room Thursday. Chad Cooper is in the building, Mary Allen, Kay Johnson, G. Boom Holly is in here. Ricky Burton. We have LaShawn Harris, Ron Waters. And he says, keep your eyes on this. And he got the eyes. I like this. Got a feeling Bethune-Cookman will upset a few folks this season. Yeah, I certainly believe a lot of folks are probably overlooking Bethune-Cookman. We'll see what that means on the field. They have a full season, so they don't have the problem of not playing in the spring and making the mix over there. They got to understand what it looks like in the SWAC. Can they change their fortunes around? Be interesting. So I do want to know, what is your picks? What are your picks? No, don't answer that. Don't answer that. It's a little bit of tease. I know you're going to deliver that on Thursday as we unveil the BCS team's official predicted order of finish. I'm excited to see what that looks like. I've got mine in. And I tell you, a lot of folks are going to want to see what I have to say. It's a little different. It's not going to be what everybody thinks, not necessarily off the rails, but in all seriousness, I think it's going to be a little different. So make sure you keep up. I want to see what the people think about my predicted order of finish and how many folks are going to want to throw me off the rail and how many folks are going to say, see, I knew Dr. Covey what he's talking about. But as we get back into the discussion, what I want to know from you all, in all seriousness, the SWAC Media Day obviously kicks off at 10 a.m. ESPN will do their thing analysis with Tiffany Green, Jay Walker, to get a state of the SWAC from Dr. Charles McCullen, the commissioner. But all 12 SWAC head coaches will be there. But you got some players as well. I want to dig in a little bit to see what your thoughts on the players that are attending. And what was your first thing that came to mind when you seen the names of the players? Alabama A&M. They have the wide receiver, Abdul Latif Ibrahim, and Gary Quarles, running back. Offensive. Usually you have one offense, one defense. A little different there. Alabama State, we're going to go in alphabetical order. Demetrius Davis, quarterback. That's the transfer that came over from Auburn. Folks out of Texas remember him for his days at North Shore. There is Rashad Davis, defensive back in terms of that. Alcorn State. C.J. Bowler, wide receiver. Always find a way to get open. Kieran Kinsler Jr., defensive back. Getting to Bethune-Cookman. Kamari Averick, tight end. Amari Hill Robinson, defensive back. FAMU shouldn't be surprised to most people in a lot of ways. Isaiah Lamb, linebacker, and Xavier Smith, wide receiver. Grambling State, Tyler Thomas, offensive line. Big boys get a little love. Joshua Reed, defensive back. Going as we continue, Jackson State, Shedeur Sanders, quarterback, and Travis Hunter, wide receiver, defensive back. So a little split there. Number one recruit in the nation as he comes in. He was there for the spring, so he's got a chance to get a little spring ball. So everybody, in a lot of ways, what he gets off. So I'm sure it'll be fascinating to see what people have to say there. Mississippi Valley State, quietly among many folks, getting it done in terms of what they think they can be able to do. So Caleb Johnson represents them as a running back on the offensive side, and then Ronnie Thomas, defensive lineman. Big boy on the defensive front gets a little love. Prairie View, Traezon Connolly, quarterback. I told you a little bit about the quarterback transfer there. Traezon Connolly has been at Prairie View, but he's also out of Texas, out of one of those big-time programs, Duncanville. Yeah, for folks that are coming out of Texas, they know a little bit about that matchup between North Shore and Duncanville. They just can't seem to find each other, but in a championship matchup, it's all gone to North Shore. Fascinating to see what this looks like. And guess what? Prairie View and Alabama State happen to play each other, so that should be fascinating. On the defensive side for Prairie View, Travion Green. Then we go into Southern. Dallas Black, another offensive lineman. Big boys get some more love. Cameron Peterson, defensive line. Southern Dooley says he wants to bring and tell y'all all this about the line play. Is he making a statement?
I think he is. Yeah.
Texas Southern University, Andrew Body, quarterback. Boy, in terms of if it wasn't for Shedeur Sanders, I think Body would probably get a lot more love, but it'll be fascinating. And that's the matchup. That's the key matchup late in the season. We saw it as freshmen last year, and offensively, in a lot of ways, at least for the first half, it lived up to it. Jackson State does what they do in the fourth quarter and pulled away. And I'm fascinated about this matchup. Andrew Body, he's going to match up with Traezon Connolly to kick things off in Labor Day weekend. In that classic, the Montario Anderson, defensive lineman, another lineman on the defensive side get some love. So we got a couple of big boys in the trenches getting a chance to put on their suits and slacks at least and come and shine and tell us what we think. We got another quarterback, though. Senior then. Not many of these out there. University of Arkansas Pablo, Skylar Perry, quarterback, getting the chance to tell what he thoughts about. Dipped a little bit last season after a brilliant spring. I'm sure he is having a big quest to get back into the scheme of things. It'll be fascinating to see what his thoughts are. Then we got another offensive lineman, Marquise Evans II. So this is another case. Pine Bluff bringing two offensive folks into the building. So fascinating in a lot of ways. I'm going to start with you, Mike. What was the first thing that came to mind when you saw this list or heard the list that I presented you in regards to who the coaches selected to be at the press table to answer these questions for the fall 2022 season, in this case at the SWAC 22 Media Day?
Thank you for allowing me to take this stage, because a wise man once told me, and a wise woman, sometimes it's not about what you say or what you show, it's what you don't show. So if you look at the lineup, so for instance, Alabama A&M has Ibrahim and Gary Quirls. What they don't have is a quarterback. So what's the quarterback? Is it going to be Quincy Casey? Is it going to be Tucker? Is it going to be Taylor? What's the deal? The team that's comfortable with their quarterbacks show their comfort. Another example, FAMU. Notice no quarterback. Is it going to be? Is it going to be Musa? Again, that lets you know where the strength.
I like it.
It's not about what you say or what you show. It's what you don't say or show. That's the first thing that jumped out to me.
I guess you saw that with Southern too. No quarterback mentioned. Fascinating. I see what you're saying.
Oh, I can keep going. Yes.
I know. We're gonna let Charles get in there. I see him chomping the bits. When I just broke that down, when you saw this, what came to your mind when you talked about the individuals that the coaches said, this is who we want to bring to the table for you all to get some insight into our program?
That's very perceptive, Mike, because that was one of the things that kind of jumped out at me when I took a look at the players. You have the three-headed monster that was Aqeel Glass, Gary Qualls, and Abdul Fattah Ibrahim last year. No Aqeel Glass this year. So Alabama A&M, from a quarterbacking perspective, and we've talked about this so often, have quarterback, have wings. So who is going to take the reins at Alabama A&M? You know, Demetrius Davis. For those of us here in the Houston area who know about him from North Shore High, anytime you mention Vince Young and Demetrius Davis in the same sentence, that's a little scary. That's something that I want people to keep in mind, how impressive this young man is, especially what he did from a high school perspective in the largest division here in Texas. And now he's coming to the SWAC. That's a huge statement in terms of what Eddie Robinson is bringing here to SWAC Media Day. We talked about Travis Hunter in 2021, but Demetrius Davis was one of the top players in the nation when he came out. So now he's at Alabama State. Taking a look at Florida A&M, the sack master himself, Isaiah Land, of course, with Xavier Smith, the speedster wide receiver. Who's going to get the ball to them? They're going to have a nice battle at quarterback at Florida A&M. Can the incumbent Rashawn McKay keep the others at bay? What is Hugh Jackson going to do with Grambling? We all say, you know, Grambling, they had a down year last year, but Grambling football doesn't stay down for forever. And it's only a matter of time before Grambling football gets right back in the mix. Eric Dooley, now at Southern, leading Jag Nation. They're chomping at the bit to get back in the conversation. You know, they're back in football business. They got the guy that they wanted over there at Southern, and now it's you know, all systems a go. Huge statement, I think, Dr. Bill, you mentioned. He bringing an offensive lineman and a defensive lineman. Of course, they had those maulers up front over the past few years from an offensive line perspective and that running game. Now Eric Dooley brings his vaunted passing game down on the bluff. You take a look, of course, Caleb Johnson was one of the top running backs in the SWAC last year. Hard running guy at Mississippi Valley State, and he's coming to SWAC Media Day. Valley will be heard from this year. There will be no Valley? No, they're going to be heard from this year. And,
are we gonna say that this year? Are we really
yeah, I think we really
gonna say it. We talking about Valley. We talking about
Valley. We're talking about Valley. And watch this. Andrew Body at Texas Southern. You know, we talked about the Orange Blossom Classic last year deciding the SWAC East. Could the Labor Day Classic decide the SWAC West this upcoming season? That's going to be a very interesting thing to take a look at with regards to Andrew Body. A lot of Texas Southern faithful are really excited about football. Normally, Texas Southern fans, they kind of have to sit on their hands until December, until basketball season. Could this year be the year that Texas Southern football takes that leap? They were the number 2 offense in the SWAC last year, right behind Alabama A&M. Question is, can they stop anybody? And then, of course, with Jackson State, Shedeur Sanders, he threw that grenade out there last year. Hey, we're different. We expected to win, and he backed it up. And now they bring the number 1 recruit in the nation, Travis Hunter, a freshman, coming to SWAC Media Day. And trust me, folks, Jackson State is going to have a couple more grenades to drop on SWAC Media Day as well.
Your points are well taken on Body. He finished number 5, 6 in the SWAC. He didn't play as many games as the top quarterback. So you could argue equivocally, he's one of the top quarterbacks. The question is, as you mentioned, is the defense going to be there to support him?
$1 million question. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do they have the defensive backing to stop the Panthers in that Labor Day Classic? We'll see.
Yeah, and another one in there is people don't realize that Jackson State had 2 top 100 recruits. You have Kevin Coleman, number 4 receiver in the house, and I'm sure that he's working out feverishly, and he's a talent. It'll be interesting to see what that means in terms of coming out there. You can only take 2 people, so I'm sure other coaches, including Coach Prime, if they had the chance, they could take a couple of more and make sure they get some light. So I'm fascinated to see what that looks like, because I'm sure he's quietly putting in the work to do what's necessary. And obviously, as a 4-star kid, he's talented himself in terms of anybody's ranked top 100. So I'm fascinated on this. Let's get into the last break. But on the other side, I want to come back and get a little bit more of your thoughts in terms of outside of your responsibilities, making sure that your alumni get who they want. I want to get your thoughts in terms of who are you most interested in interviewing during this SWAC Media Day. I'll put a pin on it, stir the mix up, and let you think about it a little bit. We'll be right back after this last break, and I want to get your thoughts on that.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
Are you ready? It's time. The inaugural Urban NerdCon is coming to Montgomery, Alabama, July 29th through the 31st.
World, what's happening? Rob Morgan here. Just letting you know, July 29th through the 31st, I'll be at Montgomery, Alabama, Urban NerdCon. Come on out, get something signed, take a photo, say hello, let's share some stories and create some memories, you know? Peace.
So join us by visiting theurbannerdcon.net for ticket and vendor information. This will be the premier Blurred event in the universe. Theurbannerdcon.net. Our heroes, our villains, our stories, everyone's con. See you there.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service with Slow Burn. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge featuring a meticulous curated collection of premium cigars. It's more than a mobile lounge. It's an environment and an experience rich in history, luxury, and personality. An elegant extension of any celebration occasion. It's the perfect escape and meeting place, a space where you can relax or enjoy a shared passion. Have Slow Burn plan your next big event, or before you are planning to celebrate your win over your athletic rival, you can shop our collections at www.slowburnwaco.com.
But if they want to tab, I'ma do the dab, yeah. Press the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, yeah, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Khalil with Inside HBC Sports Lab. Told you about some of those players, you know, multiple wide receivers. We have 3 wide receivers, including Hunter, which makes it 3 defensive backs, as he's counted both ways. 5 quarterbacks. 3 offensive linemen, 2 defensive linemen, a linebacker, 2 running backs. Defensive backs are getting the pool today. You got 4 defensive backs. Fascinating, including 5 when you talk about Travis Hunter, again, going both ways. So interesting to see when you start tabulating what does this look like. But getting back to the question, I'm going to start with you, Mike, in terms of that. Who, since you said you can tell me right now, go ahead and tell me now, who do you want to interview outside of your Prairie View responsibilities?
2 people. Coach Maynard, but really Coach Eddie Robinson Jr. Out of curiosity. You've seen so many social media clippings. You even saw it on HBCU Sports. Is this Eddie Robinson experiment going to work? It was on HBCSports.com. It was on, I forget, it was IG or somewhere on a social media site. Is this going to work? He has no coaching experience. I want to see what kind of bravado he's going to get. He's got some personalities in this room. He's got Coach Maynard. He's got Dion. He's got some personalities. I just want to see what that interview is like and what kind of confidence he's going to come in with. I'm looking forward to that interview. And Coach Maynard is always entertaining. Looking forward to that interview as well. But I want to see what Eddie Robinson Jr. got to say. Former Houston Oiler. I want to see what he got to say. Out of all,
I like that, Mike.
He's read the press clippings.
Oh yeah, I like that because Charles and I kind of got a cheat code on Coach. We've had some relationship with him, and you'll be surprised. He got a little something about it. He knows how to bring it. He started a little bit in that MEAC SWAC challenge as he got out there and said, hey, he wants to put the SWAC back where he rightfully thinks it should be.
Yeah.
And that got a lot of people's attention. So you're right. It'll be fascinating. Let me go back to you because I think Mike kind of cheated on that. I asked for players. He went with coaches. So you better go with players and or coaches. Who do you want to talk to, Charles?
Players and or coaches. I think they're, first and foremost, there are going to be some issues out there on the table. So it'll be interesting to hear some of the coaches' views in regards to where we are with name, image, and likeness. Where are we with regards to conference realignment? If there are any expectations of that trickling down. But always a great interview. And if there was no Coach Prime, if there was no Deion Sanders, I think Willie Simmons is always a tremendously insightful interviewee in terms of the way he breaks things down. It doesn't just give you the stock footage of coach speak. You know, he's very insightful in terms of his thought process, in terms of all of those things that are on the table. But obviously, Connell Maynard is going to be a very interesting interview. Never short on bravado. He is what I call, if there was no Coach Bryant, he would be that Archie Cooley individual who is in the room, who's going to suck in the oxygen around his table. And then Eddie Robinson Jr. I think that it's going to be very interesting. Like Doc said, I've had some conversations with him before. He isn't short on bravado either. So, and when I saw him bringing Demetrius Davis to SWAC Media Day, I knew there were going to be some nice little fireworks ready to go for SWAC Media Day. So I'm looking forward to hearing what those teams, especially in the SWAC East, have to say in regards to Jackson State. And then, you know, Jackson State is what it is. They're going to bring it to.
Yes,
he had to find a way to get Jackson State in there. He had to find a way to slip it in.
I think they'll bring
it. I guess he just ignored me. I said,
Did you hear the question? The question was ignore. The question was ignore your alma mater.
Duly ignored.
No. And for those who don't realize, both of these guys have finished at Texas Southern University. They just they're graduate degrees, so you see how they treat that. They answer that part correct. I wanted to ask you in regards to how many of y'all had a chance to really look at the schedule in terms of who teams play? I know it's the reverse of last year, but have you dug into the schedule? And with that being said, based on what you see this year, what you see coming back, who do you think has the toughest schedule? I'll put it out there a little bit, maybe give you some of my thoughts and process, and then you can pick this or give your own framework. Alcorn sticks out to me, and I'm talking about just the SWAC teams, obviously.
Yeah.
Non-conference-wise, a lot of them have strong, whether it's some good FCS regional competition, obviously FBS programs continue to make it strong. But you have Alcorn that plays in the division, Southern on the road for Prairie View. They got to go on the road to Grambling, right? They have Texas Southern at home that people are interested in. But then they end the season with Jackson State. I think that's a fascinating schedule in a lot of ways in terms of that. You talk about Grambling's schedule. Obviously, the Jackson State is a conference game, but it doesn't count in the conference standings. That makes it fascinating. But when you look over, they have Bethune-Cookman. They go on the road for that game. But they have FAMU at home. Obviously, they have a division matchup with Alcorn. So I'm fascinated in what you see there in terms of their schedule. That's just some that kind of jumped off my head. Some other ones out there, obviously strong. Southern, when you talk about the fact they have their own division, tough games with Alcorn, which is a rivalry, Grambling, the rivalry. But then they have two rivalries out of the East. They got Jackson State, which obviously is a big one where they just don't like each other. They go on the road for that game. Then they go on the road to FAMU. The new rivalry, renewed if you would, was one of the longest standing intra-conference rivals for the longest in terms of the MEAC SWAC. Now FAMU obviously is in the SWAC. That's another tough schedule in a lot of ways. Let me go with you, Charles. Anything stuck out in among those, or is another schedule that you were like, nah, this is one you need to consider?
It was the Alcorn schedule that jumped out at me because you start out the season. Stephen F. Austin comes into Alcorn. They go to our conference game, of course. They go to Tulane, and then they host McNeese State. Those three jumped out at me, and then you get SWAC West game. You get UAPB.
They actually on the road for McNeese.
Yeah, they're on the road for McNeese. They're on the road for McNeese. But then you get UAPB that comes into Alcorn. Tough matchup. When you consider Skylar Perry is still a heck of a playmaker who was dinged up a lot last year, but UAPB can score some points. And then they go on the road. They go to Itta Bena to take on Mississippi Valley State. That stuck out to me because that Valley game is the week before they take on Southern at Southern. So those first 5 games for Alcorn, those are beyond barometer games. They have a very tough schedule. And again, they're breaking in a new quarterback. So it's going to be very interesting to me.
Yeah,
to see.
you, Charles, you're nice. Then they got Southern. They got Texas Southern, which we know offensively should be.
And I circled the
They
Texas
go to
Southern
Grambling.
game.
They got Prairie View. They go to. That's going to want to get some of that back on them. Then they got Bethune-Cookman in Mississippi at home. But then they finish out at home, but it's against Jackson State. You're right. That's a tough one. Mike,
I circled the homecoming game against Texas Southern. I thought that could be a SWAC West showdown game.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good one. Mike, what is your thoughts in terms of the schedule? What stood out to you? Any schedule that I've mentioned, whether it was Grambling, Alcorn, Southern, or do you have another one that you thought, look at this
absolutely. It was, for me, I didn't give them an in-depth look, but Alcorn, by far. South Alabama, they got McNeese State, which you could argue is somewhat in transition. They got SFA. I think Alcorn by far has a tougher schedule.
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's fascinating to see what that goes on. I'd give a little nod to FAMU. I think obviously being in the East Division is tough as itself, but then your crossover is Southern. So, and Grambling, wow. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like. That's a pretty tough schedule as well in terms of what that looks like. But that'll do it for us. Again, look forward to us Thursday for our predicted order of finish. And for my predicted order of finish, I actually went down each schedule and broke down what I thought over the season. Obviously, too early to do all this, but I broke down wins and losses. So I have my record for everybody. So when I give you a predicted order of finish, I'm also going to share on Thursday what I think the predicted record for each team is going to be, which is how I came up with my ultimate order of finish. So look forward to seeing us on Thursday again. Make sure you tune in to BCSN, as you will have AD in terms of bringing you some updates right there, as well as Faith Daniels giving you some updates on the CIAA. For BCSN, download my JVN, my BCSN to get all that news. We'll be in Birmingham. Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Yadakaville, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Ville's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday. We will give you a show on Thursday, so make sure you turn in at 6. But before you get into that, make sure you tune in to what we'll do that morning right there in Birmingham for the 2022 SWAC Football Media Day. It should be worth the time for you to find a way to sneak away from your work and put at least an eyeball in the ear on what we have to say. Follow me, Dr. Yadakaville, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's DrKenyattacaville. That's DrKenyattacaville. Check out Brian and AD with the sports wrap. Obviously, O&G will be tomorrow, and they'll give you their thoughts, I'm sure, on the SWAC Media Day, and they'll be in the house as well. Check them out on Wednesday. You got the pregame show, as I'm sure they're going to sneak in and give you some nuggets that you haven't heard and seen before that you can't get anywhere else, as they go deep into the vaults for what is going on in Jackson State, where you actually get some of the news, like they were the first one to drop the fact that Coach Prime Sanders was given half his salary. The other media picked it up, but obviously, unfortunately, they didn't share the love. But want to make sure you know, if you want to get it first, you better check out the pregame show, because they will have it. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. That's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Dream big. Continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles.
Horse.
Mike.
Lecture.
Smith.